Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you're new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Now, I'm just going to be continuing from there and having more deep dive into compensation. And before that, I just want to say I'm introducing most of the topics for you today, but I'm not going to go deep into compensation right now because that is more into the compensation module specifics. I'm going to be going more into the details and how we can create a compensation package, grades, eligibility rules. This is the scope of this particular course because if I deep dive into it, probably I'll need at least a week to get into each and every topic, each and every nuances around it. I'm going to be only going at a high level of how to create, but still you should be able to. At the end of this course, you should be able to create a comp package, plan, create profiles, and then the eligibility rules for each of them. That is specifically the motive of this particular module that I'm going to be taking for you. All right, like I said, compensation. What exactly could constitute a compensation? Number one, it could contain your compensation elements or earning elements, your grades, grade profiles, packages, and plans. Packages is compensation package specifically is nothing, but the compensation package is going to contain all of this. It's going to contain the grade profiles, and also your compensation plan. And again, that is going to be driven by an eligibility rule. What exactly do you mean by an eligibility rule as far as a compensation package is concerned? Now, what I've done over here right now is I went to Carol Lee's profile. In Carol Lee's profile, I picked the compensation package of Carol Lee, which is team member. And how this is actually assigned over here is at the time of hire or when Carol Lee is going to have a job change, which is like a promotion. A demotion, changes in the organization that she's actually working, or any other actions. The compensation can also be changed, and you're going to assign a compensation package directly to an employee, or we have some eligibility rules which are going to drive this. Like I said, you can directly assign a compensation package to an employee, or you can have what is called as eligibility rules, which are going to drive this particular compensation package, which means this particular compensation package I can say that this is eligible for management level 7 or 8 and those who do not belong to sales. What exactly it means is somebody at management level 7 or 8, or you can assume that in certain organizations you're going to have what is called as levels. Probably at the person at level 1 could be at level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way could go to 8 or even 10 levels as well, depending on how the organization structure is going to look like. And for this particular organization and this particular package that we have, we are seeing that it is for management levels 7 and 8, which is at supervisory level and individual contributor level. And again, see here, the rule says the job profile is going to be salaried. I do have a job profile which could possibly say that it is for salaried people, or salary job profile people organization is going to be or is not going to be, rather sales. For anybody who is out of sales, I'm just only reading the rule that we have, and then we'll get more into this. We will say what exactly how to create eligibility rules and everything as well. Now, what I'm going to say is for this particular package, it is eligible only for those people who are at management level 7 and 8 and they are part of a job profile which is called as salaried and they are not part of the sales organization hierarchy. Clear on this rule, the organization and the superior organization compensation. For now, understand that the support hierarchy does not report to sales. We will deal with a little bit more when we get to the hiring part. For now, just remember that they do not report to a sales hierarchy or they are not part of the sales superior supervisory organization level. There is just a sample rule we have. All that it means is only those folks who fit in this particular criteria can be assigned the compensation package of team member. Yes, I want somebody. We will just go to the next one. If you see what example is going to be part of a compensation package. Number one, just like what we have for everything, number one is going to be effectively from when it's going to be active. Here, what you see is the current date over here right now. But this is like the current effective one is what you see over here. It could have something historic as well. But what you see is as on date, what is the effective one? That is what you see over here. Next, what is going to be the name? And if I want to give some description to this, I can give it over here, the eligibility rules. Next, the total case pay range. Range is going to come directly from the compensation package or the grade rate profiles. Next thing is going to be true. You just leave all of these. These are something a little bit advanced. And it could be dealing only with the ones which are necessary at this level because too much of information will be overwhelmed. And sometimes next primary compensation, the age segment, again that is going to come from the grade range that we have. Midpoint is going to be the midpoint, say if a person's compensation range at that level or that particular profile is going to be say aiming to the 120K, the midpoint or the median possibly could be at somewhere around 100K. Clear on that? Any question? I heard somebody on mute. Next, like I said, what exactly is going to be in my compensation package? Number one, I'm going to have compensation plans. For example, I've created this particular compensation package called as team member. And since I'm going to be part of a global organization, I can have the same compensation package used for all the different countries at the same level, which means the same team member who's going to be in New York, Japan, or in Europe can have the same compensation package. But I can have different plans assigned for each other. Something like for here, I have one which is going to be for eligibility rule. Say it is for Japan. If the person is going to be working out of Japan, I need to have a compensation plan which is going to be having some of the other levels specific to Japan. And if it's going to be in the US, it's going to be something different. Like I said, I'm going to create just one compensation package for a team member. For which I wanted to define that this is not going to be part of sales and they're going to be at a management level 7 or 8. And I can have the same compensation package used across my organization in every geography, which is in Japan, in Europe, in Iraq, in the US, everywhere. I can use the same compensation package but have different compensation plans for each of them and everybody who belongs to the same level. Here on this example, let me just open the salary compensation plan and show you what exactly it is. Now, We have a batch of around 15 folks right now, and all of us are across different geographies, and each of us will have different compensation plans. For example, Pittsburgh may have just base pay only. Aryan, who's out of Europe, may have something different. He may have a compensation plan plus family elements, plus he may have other relevant details and plans as well. And that could be somebody who's in India as well, Nishant or others who's in India. They may have like a basic HRA, family elements, car elements, etc. And if I'm going to have another person who's sitting out of Australia in Australia, the compensation package is going to be completely different. You're going to have a base pay plus a house pay plus a car elements plus a metro elements, etc. It is going to vary from place to place and from country to country and locations, geographies, everything. And again, one most important thing is if all of them are at the same level, I can say I can create just one compensation package for all of them and have different plans assigned based on certain criteria, which could be like location levels, grade profiles, etc. It could be anything, even if it could be your grade package for your management levels, job profiles, families, etc. Everything. I could create specific ones based on my requirement. Clear on that? Any questions here? One differentiator. I will just show you what's going to be. It's dober on that. It'll just help you understand a little bit better as well. If you see number 1, I'm just opening 2 different salary plans over here. One, this is for the US, and this one is more for Japan. If you see the compensation element over here, this is specifically your family allowance, and here I have a compensation element. Just type to your CD, CO, your offer that you might see. And if you go from one country to another country, obviously the compensation element is going to be different. If you're going to be in India, it's going to be different. If you're going to be in the US, it's going to be another one. From country to country, it is called be completely different. It's never going to be the same. If I have a compensation element, I say that this compensation element is called as allowance because this is a family allowance plan or family elements compensation plan which I'm going to be building for Japan. The compensation element specific for this is called as allowance and currency is called Japan and the frequency is going to be monthly. And when I go to the US, the similar one for us, all that it is going to contain is the compensation element, which is called as base pay. That's all. It's going to be very simple and lean over here. I don't have anything otherwise. And if I come over here for Japan, the family elements would be like 10,000 yen for spouse, and 5,000 yen for each child that the employee has. And I'm going to be building specific rules over here, which is going to see how many children that particular person has the legal spouse plus children. All those rules and could be building a different person has just fun. That's a spouse plus one child. He's going to get an allowance of 15,000 yen. Spouse plus 2 children, 20. Spouse plus 3 children, 25. And if he's going to have just one child and no spouse, it's just going to be 5,000. 2, it's going to be 10. 3, it's going to be 15,000. And if the person has only a spouse, then it's going to be 10,000 yen per month. This is typically how your compensation plan is going to be designed. Clear on this and the eligibility rules. I've just given it at a high level for you to understand how this typically works and how this is going to tee down to your compensation CTC that you see on your offer letter or in your organizations. There's any questions? Similarly, you can correlate to many things. If I'm going to put something for India, for example, if a person is working out of metros, say for example, if he's out of Delhi or Mumbai, or I'm going to say that the person is eligible for a metro elements for some traffic and fuel elements. My eligibility rule for that case could look like if my work location is 10 or Mumbai, I'm going to give him a man petrol elements, say of 2000 per month. That's it, very simple. And if the person the same thing in US, I might say that for people who are working out of the East Coast because of the fuel and everything, I'm going to give them a monthly elements of say $100 as commutation expenses. That's all. It's only for the East Coast. There I could bring in something like a location hierarchy. I can just tie down that particular location hierarchy to over here and I say this particular person is working out of the location and I can say US East Zone location hierarchy, which means all the US locations which are on the East Coast. I could say that I'm going to give them $100 commutation 11th per month. Simple, clear on this. On how the compensation plan can be created or what exactly is the purpose of a compensation plan. And again, if I go to the compensation package, one employee who's assigned this compensation package may have multiple plans based on all of these eligibility rules. And this is the information that is going to flow across to the payroll team when you're going to get your pages. And if because see over here, the default currency in the tenant is currently set up as INR. See, because this tenant currency is set up as INR, that is why you see it as INR. And in a typical case, it could be based on the location where your organization's higher headquarters is typically. For example, if it is Facebook, they are going to be operating out of us. Your base currency, as we call it, is set up in us. For example, if you're going to be implementing it for Nissan that is based out of Tokyo, you're going to have your base currency set up as yen. That is Japanese yen. That is, you will not see on the conversions over here. Alright. Like I was saying, the same compensation package could have multiple plans and which could be eligible for a lot of folks. For example, I might create a compensation plan based on location because for India, my compensation plan is called be different. Show whatever to this. I'll create a compensation plan for team member India where I could put in all the compensation remains for the basic HR. AR. I might say that if you're working out of a metro location, your HR it could be like 50% of basic. Otherwise, it could be 40% of your policy. I could write some rules like that. And again, if the organization is going to say that you are eligible for a fuel allowance if you're managerial and above, I could write a rule over here which is going to say if you're managerial and above grade, then you are eligible for a fuel allowance of say 1200 or whatever is going to be the organization policy per month. All those rules and everything I can just bring in over here and say that this is the compensation package for anybody who is working out of India. Very simple as that. And again here we have seen a compensation package which is returned at a more of a job or level based on the level. We have written these compensation packages. But this need not be the criteria or this need not be the life situation because in a life situation, in a life project, it depends purely on how I'm going to be designing my system. When I go to my design sessions, we have to decide how I'm going to be in my compensation package, whether I want to have it at a geography level or if I want to have it at a grade or a management level and kind of a criteria that's purely based on how I this go for the design sessions. But ideally, in a real world or recommended scenario will be to have these compensation packages set up at a geography level because each country is going to have a different salary package structure. It is also easier if I set it up at a geography level. it is easier for me to actually have this time down to my offer letter when I go for my hiring or when I go for my change of make sense. One package at least for country or geography level, makes sense to you. Many questions. When you create a package, the most important thing I will need is a compensation plan, and this is a bottom up structure. When I create my compensation package, the thing I need to have is my grade profiles, and then of course, the elements. The first thing I need is the compensation element. Let's let's say get it if you're working for say India and we are going to design a compensation package for me, the first and foremost thing I need to say this is if you are working for India and we are going to design a compensation package for me, the first and foremost thing I need to say this I need to create compensation elements. Elements are going to be like basic HRA, allowances, other pays, etc. These are going to be the compensation elements, and then I need to create my grade profiles based on this particular grade. Who is eligible for what? Say, if you are a person is at a manager, you live with a grade profiles could be created. As manager, you will create a grade profile and each of them will have a salary range which is going to be distinct from one another. And then I will go next for the compensation plans, which could be like, say, if you guys working at a managerial level, she is eligible for a few elements. And if you guys want to be working out of, say, a metro city like Mumbai or out of 10, then you are going to be eligible for a metro elements or a higher HR elements. And then once I create all of this, I'm going to tie all of this together in a compensation package. I will be, of course, seeing this next. I just wanted to give you a high level of how all of this looks in the tenant, and then I will jump into the deck and then I will show you all that. Any questions here from the other team members? Are there anything which is not presented, something that is not clear? Let me know. All right, let's go next. We just go to the compensation element is going to be your primitive thing that you will be creating. You may have n number of different compensation aliens created for a plan. If you see over here, or let me, this is better one. This is, like I said, a family allowance plan for Japan that we have created what is going to be the elements element. Sorry, what is going to be the compensation element, which means this particular 11 plan that I've created. What is the element that is going to be showing up in my CPC or further in my page structure here? I just use it as elements. I could use even a specific one called as family elements. I could use a number of different ones as per my course. Tomorrow, if I'm going to create something like a permutation elements, or in Europe it is very common, if common, for people to get reeled, the compensation plan is going to be the same as per my course for you, and your compensation element is going to be reflected as commutation elements, and it's going to be something like, say, 10 euros daily or approximately 300 euros a month that I want that to be designed. The compensation element here is going to be like commutation elements. I could have multiple such compute compensation elements based on the plan that I'm going to be having it. What exactly is going to be a compensation package? We just saw a few things about earlier. The first and foremost thing, like I said, when I'm going to have a compensation package, I need to have an eligibility rule that is going to be always sitting at the top of the stack where it is going to say this compensation package is going to be eligible for a certain population. What is that? Population is what I need to define it. First, I need to say that this particular compensation package is going to be eligible only for certain population. for folks who are going to start Europe, or I could have it as a geography level, or I could have it based on the management level. Management level is going to be like 6, 7, and above. I'm going to do it. Or possibly, if the person is working out of, say, a remote location, I can have a different compensation package for them, and I can create a base on job family. I can get based on any criteria where I can use the employee. That's all. There is no hard and fast rule that I need to do it, but when I go for the design, I try to put it in the optimal way that I can create that I'm going to have fewer roles created and it's easy for me to implement and also have this used in the future for any support purposes. That is the main criteria that I'm going to be looking at when I go to my design sessions. Next, we are going to have the grades. What are the different grades, grade profiles, and everything steps? I will just give you only at a high level, but I don't want to go in depth into that. For example, if I go into this, for example, assume that this is just a question for everybody. If the compensation grade or the grade profile for, say, a consultant level person, and if the salary range is going to be like, say, 80 to 120K a year, and when a person enters the consultant level, he could be paid like $80, and as he progresses, there is going to be a small increment in the salary based on what you might call as a consultant 1 consultant to consultant 3, etc. I could have some steps in the progression of the person. Or if you're going to be hiring somebody who's already a seasoned consultant, I may not put about 80,000 traffic. Rather, I might put him something at around 90 or 100K because I'm really interested in D220K. I could put something around 90 to 100K for your package bracket. Correct. This particular increment is what we call it a step in every grade profile, and we're having incremental step in the compensation, which is going to be like each and every increment to the package. Like I said, 80. You want to make it my package or my salary range that for this particular person, when he starts with 80K after a year, probably after his performance review, I could put him at an 85 or 90K package based on his performance. But what exactly is the step? Progression is what we call it as grade steps. See here, we have like segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, 4, and the midpoint, which is going to be, of course, the medium for this particular one, because here the range is going to be 55 to 100. And what exactly is going to be and how these are all derived? Is this purely based on business logic? And that could be like different rules and different business criterias, which we define this based on how the organization wants to set this up, because this could be even based on current employees who are like 2 or 3-year-old consultants at this level, or it could be like seasoned people. When I'm going to be hiring somebody, I'd see this particular person. What is going to be the midpoint? What is going to be the midpoint salary? I'll be designing all of this based on my criteria or what I'm going to be getting from the business, purely organization specific data, only clear on that. Any questions on what exactly grade and grade profile steps are? All right, next plans. We saw about compensation plans. Basically, what is going to be the different plans at a package level and who's going to be eligible for what pays at different times. And that is typically what a compensation plan is going to look like. And again, I'm going to have different eligibility rules which are going to drive all of this. And each employee may have one or more compensation plans in as per the eligibility rules, or I'm going to set up as a package. And again, I can have a salary plan. I can have an early plan. We can have elements, bonus, commission, one-time payment. Before we go into almost, I just quickly to improve all of these. Do everybody know precise for the rest of the folks? One time payment plan is something that I'm going to be giving an employee as a one time date. It could be like something like because of covered. Certain organizations gave something like a covered related elements just to support the family, or for example, if you're going to be joining an organization, you could get something like a one time relocation elements, or you could get something like a one time joining bonus. All of that is what is called as one time payment plan. Next, we have permission plan. This is moved for either the sales and marketing folks or for the folks who are there in the C-suite level. People like who I really bring it business to the organization. They could be part of many different compensation for commission plans, and in us it is given a lot of different terms: long term incentives, short term incentives. This could also be called as incentive plan in the US, because we have like short term incentives, long term incentives based on the level that you are there, and all of that constitutes a commission plan. Bonus plan, or in easier terminologies, you can say something like a variable bonus based on your performance and based on the organization's performance for that particular period under the question. Next, 11 spans. I think we have already discussed a lot of that elements plan, something like a communication 11, something like your family 11, or your and metro elements. Or in India, you could have something like an Har city elements. All that is going to be constituted as a part of your 11th plan. Next, Arlene plan. If your pay structure is going to be like you're going to be paying Arlene, you're going to be handed as a salary plan. Just have to remember only one thing over here when we come to salary plan. Not all salary plans are paid at a monthly level. In India, in Europe, Australia, and certain other regions, it is usually salary plan is usually monthly, but in us, the salary plan is those who are what we're going to be a product. Us probably might know the Sadly Planet. Us, like I said yesterday, is usually by Be Clean by Me clinics once in 2 weeks. That's for me all right. In us, the salary plan is usually bi-weekly, whereas for the rest of the locations, it is usually monthly, just a default one. It doesn't mean that it cannot be overridden, but usually in us, people get their paychecks once in 2 weeks when you go to a live client, and they mean when you configure a salary plan. People only use the terminology, and if it's us, you just need to get the kind of an assistance to understand whether they mean it monthly or a bi-weekly, because predominantly it is by month, by week, by weekly for all of us. We just have to note that particular point alone as far as salary plans are concerned. All right, the next thing, the compensation elements. We saw about compensation elements, what it's going to be like. We may have a one-time payment. You could have a base fee if it is going to be out of us, and you have many other different plans. If it's going to be in Singapore, Europe, Japan, or Australia, you could have different elements based on the location and the statutory laws over there. And what exactly happens is all of this is going to what constitute a compensation package, your eligibility rules, your grades, profiles, plans, elements. All of this is going to actually contain, or it's going to constitute what my compensation package is going to look like, and I'm going to have this assigned to my employee based on the eligibility rules. That is number one. And again, the most important thing is post creation of the compensation. The compensation package has a touch point with the payroll earnings. What happens is I'm going to say that this particular person is eligible for a compensation plan, says, for example, and he's going to have a compensation element. This compensation element is going to flow directly to my pay earnings. Clear on this? Say, if you're going to have a base pay of, say, $100,000 a year, that is going to automatically reflect in your paycheck as $100,000 a year. Or if you're going to get paid monthly, that's going to reflect at 8,300 a month. It's going to reflect in a similar way. Clear on what exactly compensation package, eligibility rules, plans, elements, and payroll on itself. Any questions? Any questions? Team, we want to proceed further. All right. Like I said earlier, compensation plan package is nothing but a grouping of grades. Compensation plans, eligibility rules are going to be driving all of this. This is typically how a compensation plan is going to be designed as well. The most important thing that I need before creating a compensation plan is I need to have at least one or more compensation plans created. The prerequisite for any creation of any compensation package is number one is the compensatory plan. Excuse me. Compensation plan is going to be the first and foremost prerequisite for my compensation package, right? And also I can view in the worker profile. I can view the person's compensation package, the grade profile, and this is all there in my worker profile. And like I said, I can assign it directly at the worker profile level, or I can have eligibility rules which are going to drive all of this. Based on my eligibility rules, I can see that this particular person is going to be eligible for the compensation package team or whatever is going to be the compensation package that I'm going to be creating. I can because I don't want this to be overwhelming for you. That is one, because I can take this particular session for even another 20 hours as well, but I don't want to go much deep dive into it because I want you to basically understand what a compensation package is going to be. That is why I'm just going probably at the top. I'm not going deep diving into this as well. Compensation package, but I am not going to show you about creating the elements and everything because I don't want you to get into elements right now. We are only going to be creating a compensation from package from scratch using eligible rules which are already available in the system because I don't want you to get overwhelmed it with eligibility rules and everything, but we are going to create a package up next. All right, while you're doing, we should follow along and do sure. All right, like I said, prerequisite for creating a package number one, I should have at least one compensation package, the compensation plan for my eligibility rule. And also, I need to have my eligibility rules because I need to define for which population am I going to create this particular compensation package for. Without knowing who might be creating this one, be extremely difficult for me to create a compensation package. Good. All right, now let's get started and create a sample compensation package. Like always, I go to the search and then I say comp package. And this is going to be an activity for you. It is just try to only create something which is simple. Don't deep dive into all of this and don't try to reinvent the wheel at this stage. At this stage, don't try to reinvent the wheel. That's what I would request because this is a little bit advanced topic. I want you to more concentrate on using existing ones for the time building and then we can go into the deep dive and you can create your own compensation rules, eligibility grades, everything. But for the time being, please only stick on to the basics for today, tomorrow. We can definitely do it. You can actually deep dive into it and all those things that you can do. I'm just going to be creating a test package and then I'm going to say that this is going to be eligible for a certain company or an organization. Let me say that I already have a rule and this is for Global India LULP, which is a company. And if I want to view this rule, like I said, just click on these three dots, which we call it as related actions. Click on this rule. This is always what I use because it is easy for me to view because the name might be misleading at some times. What I do is I just go to this. I say that this is going to be for compensation group, is going to be salaried, and it is for management levels at compensation which is at 2 and above. It's going to be for all manager levels or management levels of 2 and above at vice president, director, manager, everybody. I'm going to be using this particular eligibility rule, which means this compensation package is only eligible for this particular population, and I can, of course, have multiple eligibility rules as well. I can say that this particular person is based out of India, and this particular person is going to be based for this particular department, say for sales department. I think you were asking me only for sales. I'm going to create one package, and for non-sales, I'm going to create another package. You can do it that way as well. Next, what is going to be the grade that I want to have for this particular person? I can say something like, I will just put a basic one. I'm just going to say it is going to be a base pay, not hanging. Let's have something. Look, because the things is like certain grades have been created without the access to us. You just get one simple one. Let me just use grade for company as X what it is. If I want to view it, I just have to click on the related actions. If you see the compensation package, then view my compensation grade. What exactly is the compensation? Great, I'm going to be having for this. I can give those details as well because I need to know what exactly I'm creating. What are the pay elements? What is called the compensation basis? And what is going to be the min and the maximum structure? In this is an ASCII, which is Singapore dollars. That's for now. I just want to understand what I'm actually creating. That is the first thing. I've added my compensation grade over here. Next, I'm going to be adding my compensation plans. Let me see that I'm just going to be adding base, simple one. I'm just going to be adding only Let's see to this. I think they've created without the access in everything. Let me put one salary plan, a simple salary plan. Let me just create or let me just use a salary plan which we already have the same X company. I'm going to use this salary plan called as X company, and if I want to view this, I just have hit right click on this and then say view in new tab, and I'll be able to view the details of this particular compensation plan, which is salary for company X. I've just chosen a salary plan. It's easy for everybody to understand and says over here country eligibility is going to be is France or Singapore. I wanted to choose in the grade profile specifically to Singapore, and then I can say the compensation element is going to be days pay, and once I create this and this is going to be done and I don't have anything to do with the compensation basis and now I've just created my first compensation package and I can assign this compensation package either based on this eligibility rule that I have, or I can directly assign it at an employee level, either when I'm hiring him or when the employees won't have a change in the compensation structure, either way of promotion, job changes, location changes, or department changes, anything of that sort. Based on that particular criteria, I can make changes over here. Clear on them? Any questions? How to create your first compensation package. This is the way you are going to be creating, and I will share this particular material across to you as well that has some more details, but it might be a little bit overwhelming. But just stick on to the basics at this moment only, and tomorrow we'll have some 10 minutes dedicated in the start of the session, especially for any questions that you have or you might have encountered for creating a compensation package. Clear on this? Any questions? Like I said, effective date, I usually give only a land 1900 unless and otherwise there is a valid requirement for me to give another date because I could even have it. Like because of the post-COVID era, there were lots of changes in the compensation packages that were there because certain organizations say that they no longer want to pay the communication elements because it was work from home and energy, culture, and everything. They made some changes in the existing compensation page and say that it was effective from, say, the 1st of April 2020. The communication elements was no longer available as a part of the city, but they knocked it out. For such cases, they used effective date concept rest apart for all practical purposes. I would still give my effective date as 1900 for anything that I would be building in the system. For me, that's just a recommended approach if you have a valid reason. Otherwise, you can use your own data, including the current data as well. All right, clear all this. Any other questions on how to create your first compensation package? And I just talk on to the P6 only. I'm not gone into creating an eligibility rule, but today activity for you is create a first and create a simple compensation package and try to go through all the elements which are there, and you can go to the compensation package of Carol D, or you can go to the compensation package of the other folks as well, be it Joy Banks or Logan McNeil, and look at their compensation package which is there. All right, that is going to be a little bit better because it's not going to contain much of junk data and you can view their compensation package. Try to relate it to your own compensation structure that you have in your TDC. Then it will make sense. And once you are clear with this, create a compensation package and still you feel clear, you can go on to create a sample eligibility rule. Only create very, very simple eligibility rules. The way you do it is, you can do it in two ways. When you go to edit or in creation, you come over to eligibility rules over here. See that this is effective? From interesting, I come over here to eligibility rules. I don't want to. We'll deal with this later because I don't want to get into that right now because I have to teach you one more screen for that. And from there you have to create. For now, just use only the existing rules. I do not want to put into that creation of the eligibility rules at this moment, but far is it clear on what exactly the grade profile, what is a compensation package, what is a plan. Everything is try to go through this, create a simple compensation package for yourself based on what you might have seen or your own experience and see the different elements. And that's going to be the activity for you. Clear? And I will share this particular package. Sorry, this particular deck with you after the class. All right, and you can go through slides 15 onwards. That is going to contain instructions of how the compensation package can be created. Clear? Clear. Any other questions if you want to assign a different compensation package to, say, an existing worker, that will be part of a change of transaction, which we'll see next week. After this and tomorrow, I know you're going to have a lot of questions on how the compensation package is going to be, how the grades, grade profiles, the plans, elements are all. But for now, and try to create one and you will find it quite interesting and you will learn a lot of. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.